This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hey, I'm running out to drop off a stack of letters and packages. Need anything shipped while I'm gone?
Save the gas. Stamps.com lets you print postage and schedule pickups right from your desk. Sync your contacts into the address book, get detailed accounting insights, and get notified the moment your certified mail is delivered.
All from my desk?
All from your desk.
Join the 4 million businesses using Stamps.com right now with code PODCAST and get your free welcome gift. Stamps.com, code PODCAST. Taxes and fees apply.
Right, John?
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And I think it applies to people it applies to people who are not only trying to seek power and gain more power in their lives, but also people who are trying to maintain that power. So it's a delicate and it's a difficult law. And it's important to know that this law can actually turn against you if it's taken too far. And I know this is not a political show and it's not meant to be, but I think that this is just American politics is such a great example that we can't overlook it. So
we see this happening right now, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we absolutely see this happening right now. And this is not to put down anyone's specific political beliefs or who you believe is the right candidate for the next presidential election. But it's really to support our agenda is to create opportunities for positive personal growth and to think about how to increase power in your own life. So this is a perfect example. So we're not, if you're trying to increase power, the law says do not commit to anyone. And the one political candidate for me that really is not committing to anyone is Donald Trump. And why I say that is because he's funding his own campaign. He's not creating strings to lobbyists or even other politicians or to any group. In fact, if you look at his behaviors, he alienates a lot of voters, blocks of voters, and he's going against everything that his advisors say to do. You know, he's really being rough. I mean, he's talking about immigration and how he's going to chase out all the illegal immigrants and the birthright citizenship by birthright. So if you're born in America to illegal parents, it doesn't matter. You're an American. That's the way the law is.
That reminds me of that famous story, and I'll just reiterate in case anyone doesn't know, of the man and the donkey and the boy. There's an old man, a boy, and a donkey. You've heard this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the first, the old man and the boy are traveling with this donkey, and the old man is leading the way, leading the donkey, and the boy is riding on the back of the donkey. So they go through one village, and the villagers all say, "Look at that little lazy kid. He's letting that poor old man walk while he should be riding, and the kid should be leading the way." So they switch and they go through another village, and the same thing happens, but it's like that. Look at that old man taking advantage of that poor little boy. He should let him ride and he should walk. So then they go to another village, and they come to a bridge, right?
You're telling the story.
Okay, you don't know what this is. Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay. I thought you knew. Okay.
Kidding.
All right. So they go through these two villages, and then they come up. Finally, there's a bridge where they have to cross this water, and they're like, okay, before we go this, we got to go through one more town, right? So they go through the town, and the people, I think both of the man and the kid ride on the donkey together, and then more people complain and say, look at that poor donkey. He's bearing the weight of the man and the boy, and they should be, leading him and walking and not riding him. So they come to a bridge and they decide, you know what? Let's carry the donkey. Everyone's complaining that, we're riding on it, so we're going to carry the donkey across this bridge. And they get halfway across, and he starts bucking, and boom, the donkey goes off the edge and down in the water and dies. And the thing is that you can't please everyone, and you eventually, if you try to please everyone, you lose your ass.
Yeah, and isn't that the case with our politicians these days? What I thought was really interesting is that in this law, and in some of the side notes, there was an Indian fable that said, "The weak benefit by the quarrels of the mighty." And I think a lot of us think of the American people as being the weak and the politicians having all the power. But I really think that the weak are actually our politicians and our government, because we should be a government of the people. So the mighty really are all of us, the American people. And if we would just put our quarrels aside, not buy into what our politicians are calling out. Most of the time, they're calling out these hot button issues that people have, a lot of emotions tied up into them. They feel very strongly about these issues, and for that reason, we quarrel amongst each other. We need to put those quarrels aside and focus on strengthening our government and having our government really serve us better than it currently does. That's all I'm going to say about American politics with this. But I think it's such a great example of, don't commit to anyone, don't commit tie, don't create obligations for yourself.
Well, in the book, it's political too, because they talk about in the 1500s how Queen Elizabeth from England made herself unavailable to all her courtiers, and she dated people and she went out with people and had the guys try to come up and approach her hand for marriage, but she would almost tease them and play with them and keep them at bay. And she only had, like, from what I remember, she had two main rules, and it was avoid marriage and avoid war. And the reason that she avoided marriage is because she could court these people. Like, there was two brothers in France that wanted her hand in marriage, and she used it to her advantage because she needed a treaty to be signed with France. So she kind of used it and played them until she was, the French people decided to go ahead and make a treaty with England. And once she got that, she dumped those guys. And, that was her lot in life. She even went to, she eventually never married. And, as they claim that she died a virgin.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. She was known as the Virgin Queen, and everybody wanted her, and she would not give in, and she just played that to her advantage. Now, you bring up a good point, Tom, that when we have a commitment such as marriage, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but all of us married people, men and women alike, know that our life is so much different now that we're married. We have obligations to our family and to our children, if we have children. So there's an obligation and a responsibility to give up our time. There are, we've created these strings willingly, and that's not at all a question, really. It's just an acknowledgement. I don't think it's anything bad. I think marriage and family are great. I love my wife and my children. Would not change that for the world.
My default position in life really is do not commit to anyone, other than, I've obviously committed to my family, but my wife knows it, and my son is the same way. I'm very hesitant to join groups. I'm very hesitant to, commit to volunteering for certain things or taking on certain roles. It's not who I am. I almost I don't know if you ever saw Jim Carrey's movie. I think it was Yes Man, where Tony Robbins brainwashes him into saying yes for everything. All of a sudden his life just changes.
Or was that Liar Liar?
Was that
Wait, no, that's a different.
That's a different movie. I think it was. I don't know if it was Just Man or I can't remember. I think that's the name of it.
I think because I remember that he hypnotized him.
Right, because he was so used. I was like Jim Carrey was before he got hypnotized, where everywhere he would go, he'd just go nope, 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 and people would try to beg for money, be nope. People try to ask him for telemarketers, nope, nope, anything. He just walked down the street saying no, 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 no.
Right. So, by remaining independent, you do have much more power over and control over your time, and you don't feel obligated. As far as Queen Elizabeth, she used this tactic to increase her power as well as increase her respect, because what they also mentioned in the book is that many people back in that age did not want to be led by a woman. As sexist as that is, many people expected to be ruled by a king, not a queen. But she saw that there was just no winning by taking on a husband.
Well, wasn't a fear too? I mean, even if she got married, it's possibly that she was killed. You cause war, plus
Yes.
She could get killed herself. They could knock her off, and then leave the king in charge.
Yeah. So I think there are other examples of this law as well. Think about if you're a private business owner or with a corporation, whatever you're trying to do, whatever business you're in, you're trying to win at business. So therefore you're whining and you're dining prospective clients. So, you wine them, you dine them, you create commitments on their part. I mean, you've spent all this time and money on them, and they're getting special treatment. But what happens as soon as they sign up? Yeah, those dinners, the wining and dining really drops way down, and you don't get the special treatment like you used to because you've signed on the dotted line.
Yeah,
so,
it really is like a relationship, and the more, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, about scarcity, it really plays into a form of scarcity as well.
Yeah. And then on a personal level, I think that credit card companies also play to this law as well, because, the debtor is a slave to whoever they owe money to. I mean, you're basically working to pay back that bill. I follow that old adage, I owe, it's off to work I go, because I need to pay my bills. Now I paid off over 90 grand in debt in 2.5 years. My wife and I did. So we don't have that problem anymore. But you can
feel free to pay off some of mine if you feel charitable.
Well, it's so funny. As soon as you get something paid off, some other bill comes up. I mean, my daughter is 13 years old. She's going to be driving in the next few years. There's college to think about. There's weddings. Sorry, dude. You got to figure that out for yourself.
Hey, why do you think I'm in debt? I have an 18-year-old daughter.
Committing.
Luckily, I have a very smart and intelligent daughter, so she got a full scholarship to college, which has helped out greatly. But the car we still had to take care of, and she's not talking about marriage anytime soon, so that's good.
It's I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. In fact, I've read several of his books as I was trying to figure out what to do for myself. And I don't subscribe to every principle that he follows, but I did for most of it. And one of the stories he talked about, it really stuck with me. And he said, imagine if you were debt free and you're at your job and your boss is giving you a really hard time. Your boss is yelling at you for no really good reason. But your house is paid for, you own your cars, you have no credit card debt, you have money in the bank, and you're basically working because you want to do something challenging and something that you enjoy. So if you owe money, if you have credit card debts, or you're paying off your car, or you want a roof over your head and you don't have money in the bank, you're going to react differently in that situation. And if you are like, like what Dave Ramsey described, where you own your house, you own your car, you have money in the bank, you don't have all these other obligations. You're going to tell your boss to just shove it and say, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to quit. And you walk away, and as the boss is yelling, hey, come back here, you can't do that. You turn around very calmly and you say, yes, I can, because I own my house, I own my car, I have money in the bank. I really don't need you. Goodbye. And, I think that this is not necessary. This law is not necessarily anti-relationship. I think that I think we are social creatures, and we are going to be in relationships, and we need each other.
They also relate this to war too. I mean, when they talk about, when there's two warring countries, to not get involved, to stay neutral, almost like Sweden, right? That's what they're known for. They stay out of they stay neutral, so they stay out of it. And in the history though, the countries that stayed neutral like that usually come in after the fact and then clean up on whoever's left. So they let the two big superpowers or whatever beat the hell out of each other, and then when they're weakened, that's usually when they step in and conquer.
Well, if you go back to when George Washington was president during the American Revolutionary War, France wanted to aid us in our independence. And George Washington said, no, we're not going to do that. And he did that exactly for that same reason, because he knew that there were strings attached and that we were the weaker country, and we had to prove to the rest of the world that we were strong enough to be independent. So we did not accept France's help. But this would be a much different country if we had.
Yeah, and we'd be Canada.
What was that?
I said we'd be Canada.
You're talking French for sure. So
no offense to Canadians, is
I have several French Canadian grandmothers in my history, so don't take them. So don't allow yourself to be dragged into somebody else's fight, and remain neutral and try to rise above it all. I think that will play out much better for you in the long run. So we said that this law is not necessarily anti-commitment or anti-relationship or anti-committing to other people. You just need to know what you're up against. And I think part of this, you need to be able to read the fine print and know what you're signing up for when you do make commitment. This is really about keeping your independence and your ability to think freely, and mastering your own emotions so that you could remain in control and in power. I think would be a good thing. And by not taking sides, you're not investing yourself emotionally. You could stay. It's easier to stay impartial to it. So try to disengage your emotions, stay neutral, and don't act on an emotion, but rather recognize how you feel and then use it as a tool to your advantage. I guess another way of saying that is choose your battles carefully, and then fight on your own terms for your own reasons. There's one last point that I'd like to make, and I hope that you can walk away with this, is that there are only 24 hours in each day. And it's really the great equalizer for all of us, no matter your walk of life, no matter how old you are. Everybody has exactly 24 hours, no more or no less. And our success or failure is really dependent on how we choose to use our time. So this is where our responsibilities, our obligations, agreements, as well as our actions and our everyday decisions, play into how we use our time and what takes up our time in our life. So by remaining independent and non-committal, you can use your time much more for your purposes and in order to increase your power. So in the long run, this is much more respectable because a lot of people may recognize it, but they don't necessarily do it. And for you to take more control of your own time and pursue your own interests is going to increase your respect and give you a lot more power. It also provides more options that will directly be in your best interest.
Amen.
Yeah. So just, walk away with this knowing that we only have 24 hours in a day, and the time that we do have can either serve your own purposes or the purposes of somebody else's.
And as our friend David from another episode said, it's only 24 hours. Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and we have an opportunity each day, a new opportunity to take action on whatever we've learned from all the days previously.
And
So
I just want to mention, and I know this is not a news show, but we just found out right before we recorded this episode that Wayne Dwyer had passed away in his sleep last night. And, that he's kind of, he's a leader in personal development. This show kind of obviously is personal development. So, say a prayer for his family and, realize that life is short. You think that you're going to live to be an old gray-haired man, and you never know.
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Okay.
All right. Well, we have a new, if you go to swiftkickinass.com, we have a new download if you want to check it out. John wrote a 10-page action plan, how to change your life, and it's well worth it. In exchange for an email, you get this 10-page PDF, and you'll not be disappointed. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.